Kevin Costner's name wasn't supposed to be in this story until he made it impossible to ignore. In a sharply worded interview, the Hollywood icon alleged that Meghan Markle crossed a line, accusing her of making unwanted advances toward him. Costner's denial of any connection to Epstein was swift and absolute, but it was his pointed reference to Meghan's background that drew immediate attention. His comments didn't just rebuff a personal approach. They hinted at deeper discomfort among Hollywood veterans about Meghan's motives. For years, Meghan has been seen moving through elite spaces, from charity events to private gatherings, working to solidify her status.
If you love getting the real story behind the palace walls, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and tap the notification bell so you never miss an update.
But now, Costner's public refusal has turned whispers into headlines, casting her behavior in a sharply different light. This incident isn't just about one awkward moment. It lands in the middle of a much larger shift. With Prince Andrew's Epstein ties back in the news and Meghan's name resurfacing in the same conversations, the unease is no longer just private speculation. Insiders say the royal family is weighing formal action, even invoking century-old legal frameworks to consider removing her titles. Meghan's high-profile connections, once seen as a strength, are now under a different kind of microscope. Costner's blunt rejection may have been the spark, but what follows could reshape how power, propriety, and reputation are navigated in both Hollywood and the monarchy. Kevin Costner doesn't usually do scandal. Known for being measured, private, and not exactly the kind of guy who throws fuel on the fire, his recent comments took everyone off guard. During an interview that was supposed to promote a project, he dropped a sentence that turned into a viral storm. Meghan Markle, he said, had made an inappropriate advance toward him. He said it calmly, directly, and with no apparent interest in adding drama. But just like that, the whole room froze. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't elaborate. But the implication was crystal clear. He was shutting a door, firmly. The context? A charity event. The timing? During Meghan's increasingly aggressive attempt to gain traction in Hollywood. What he said, and what he didn't say, made people sit up. Because this wasn't just another celebrity anecdote. It was a rare moment of an A-lister drawing a boundary in public and linking that boundary, indirectly, to a person already under intense scrutiny. Meghan Markle's push into Hollywood has never been subtle.
If you love getting the real story behind the palace walls, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and tap the notification bell so you never miss an update.
From the minute she and Harry stepped back from royal duties, she made it clear she wanted a foothold in the world of film, television, and power networking. She signed with major representation, showed up at exclusive events, and made sure her name stayed in the conversation. But according to multiple insiders, that push often crossed lines. Stories began surfacing about how Meghan had a habit of cornering big names, lingering a little too long in conversations, and occasionally turning professional interactions into something more ambiguous. That's where the Costner moment hit especially hard, because it wasn't just about one awkward encounter. It symbolized a broader discomfort, a pattern that many had whispered about but no one had confirmed. Until now. And then there's the elephant in every royal scandal room, Prince Andrew. His name alone invokes a tsunami of baggage. His long-standing connection to Jeffrey Epstein has been a persistent stain on the monarchy's reputation. And while Meghan has never been directly implicated in that world, the resurfacing of her social overlaps with Andrew has reignited suspicions. Costner's comment triggered a wave of re-examinations. People began connecting dots. Meghan's early ambitions in elite circles, her documented efforts to get close to certain figures, and yes, her brief, previously downplayed interactions with Prince Andrew, all became part of the public conversation again. The timeline may be fuzzy, but the pattern is what matters. A pattern of calculated proximity to power, no matter how tainted. Prince Harry, through all this, has kept his usual silence. His loyalty to Meghan remains unshaken in public. But behind the scenes, sources close to the couple say there's rising tension. The Hollywood dream has not unfolded the way they expected. Projects are stalled. Partnerships have cooled. And the image of Meghan as a sophisticated global humanitarian is being slowly eclipsed by whispers of manipulation and scandal. What's more damaging than rumors? Rumors backed by high-profile voices. And Costner, by stepping into the narrative, even if briefly, added serious weight to the idea that Meghan's social climbing isn't just assertive. It may be inappropriate. For a couple already battling image fatigue, the fallout from this moment is enormous. Back in the UK, royal insiders are reportedly paying attention. The royal family has kept Meghan and Harry at arm's length ever since their departure, but stories like this one trigger institutional concern. Not necessarily because of the optics, but because of the potential legal and political consequences. There's precedent in British law, specifically the Titles Deprivation Act of 1917, that could theoretically be used to strip Meghan of her royal titles if scandal crosses a certain threshold. That may sound extreme, but these discussions are no longer whispers. The combination of past associations, recent testimonies, and Meghan's refusal to step out of the spotlight is creating pressure on Buckingham Palace to respond. Royal dignity, as outdated as it might sound, still matters, especially when it's being undermined by associations with men like Epstein and Andrew. Meghan's defenders are quick to point out her charity work, her media ventures, her public stances. But none of those counterpoints erase the power of personal testimony. When someone like Kevin Costner, respected, measured, and uninterested in gossip, steps forward, it reshapes the narrative. It's not just tabloids anymore. It's people with reputations to protect saying, enough. And let's not forget, this isn't Meghan's first brush with public rejection. The Oprah interview may have painted her as a victim of royal coldness, but since then, the roles have shifted. Now, Meghan is the one being scrutinized, the one being held accountable for past relationships, ambitions, and choices that increasingly appear calculated rather than circumstantial. The most uncomfortable part of this entire saga is the proximity. Meghan's past efforts to connect with Prince Andrew, however minor or social in nature, are now being seen in a very different light. The fact that her name is even mentioned in the same breath as Epstein and Andrew, regardless of direct involvement, is damaging in itself. And here's where it gets strategic. For the royal family to maintain distance, they need evidence, or at least signals, that Meghan's behavior represents a reputational threat. Costner's comments could become exactly that, a signal that even outside the palace, her influence is viewed as invasive, maybe even toxic. It turns a Hollywood anecdote into potential royal ammunition. As all this unfolds, the contrast between Meghan and the rest of the royal women becomes more pronounced. Princess Catherine, for example, continues to represent the image of poised, restrained royalty. Her absence from controversy and her apparent popularity stands in stark contrast to Meghan's high drama arc. Sources say that behind closed doors, the royal family has leaned more and more into Catherine's image to stabilize public perception. While Meghan is seen attending events with celebrities and fielding lawsuits, Catherine is out there in modest attire, holding hands with school children and ribbon-cutting libraries. One's trying to maintain the monarchy's mystique. The other, it seems, is eroding it. And then there's Prince William, who has remained publicly neutral but privately skeptical. He has long been wary of Meghan's intentions, and reports suggest he sees his growing scandal as a vindication of earlier instincts. There's no appetite, from his camp, to extend olive branches or offer media defense. The relationship between the brothers, already fractured, isn't likely to recover under this pressure, especially not if discussions about title revocation continue to escalate. If William takes a stronger leadership role in the monarchy, his first priority will be to protect the institution, and that likely means distancing it even further from Meghan. All of this would be easier to dismiss if not for the Epstein connection. That name casts a shadow over everything. Any association, however tangential, becomes toxic by default, and Meghan's willingness to navigate those social circles, even on the fringes, now looks like a serious miscalculation. It's not about guilt by association. It's about optics, patterns, and behavior. When multiple people say the same thing, that Meghan pursues powerful men, leverage relationships, and occasionally oversteps, it stops being a coincidence. And when those men include names tied to legal and moral disasters, the scrutiny intensifies. Costner's comment may have been short, but its ripple effect is massive. Virginia Giuffre's name resurfacing didn't help Meghan's situation. Though their stories are wildly different, the connection comes down to proximity. Who knew who attended what, and who was present in the same elite spaces. When you're orbiting around names like Prince Andrew and Jeffrey Epstein, people don't wait for courtroom. They start judging immediately. The public has grown tired of coincidences. They've seen enough black and white photos and blurry party shots to understand how these networks operate. Meghan might insist she was never part of that world, but people remember how these things start. A handshake at a fundraiser, a selfie with the wrong person, a whisper about a connection. That's all it takes, especially when the stakes are this high. Prince Andrew's presence at Royal Lodge has remained a sore spot for the monarchy. Even after stepping back from public duties, he's never truly gone away. And for Meghan, any documented interaction with him, even in the same building or event, becomes part of a scandal collage. It's not about whether something happened behind closed doors. It's about whether she kept getting close when others were backing away. Those overlapping appearances are now under magnifying glass. Even brief moments, a shared table, a mutual acquaintance, a guest list with both names, can be repurposed into narrative fuel. And Meghan, always eager to be seen in the right circles, didn't seem to understand just how radioactive those ties would become once Costner said what he said. Ghislaine Maxwell's name adds an extra layer of damage. She's the kind of person no one wants to be adjacent to, even by accident. But the problem is Hollywood and high society were crawling with those connections. Before the world knew what Maxwell was facilitating, she was in rooms with people who now want nothing to do with her. And Meghan, during her early climb, was reportedly interested in any door that might open. There's no known photo of Meghan with Maxwell, but insiders say they floated through similar events. That suggestion alone, that she may have brushed elbows with one of the most disgraced socialites in recent memory, has people pulling up archives and scrutinizing every detail. Even if nothing happened, the story is now out there, and in a world as obsessed with optics, perception can be more damning than proof. Sarah Ferguson, always entangled in royal controversy in her own way, might have been a cautionary tale Meghan should have paid more attention to. Fergie's years of navigating scandal, money problems, and her infamous interviews painted a picture of what happens when a royal adjacent pushes too far. And yet, Meghan followed a similar trajectory: ambition, publicity, high-profile missteps. There were moments when Fergie reportedly tried to advise her, offer a warning or two. But Meghan wasn't interested in listening. And now, with even Costner drawing a line, Meghan's resistance to advice from people who survived this machine is coming back to haunt her. She didn't learn from the people who'd already been burned. When Queen Elizabeth II was alive, she played the long game. She never publicly criticized Meghan, never fueled the fire. But those who knew the Queen's inner circle say her patience had limits. Behind the scenes, she reportedly disapproved of some of Meghan's choices and the chaos that seemed to follow her. With the Queen gone, that buffer is gone too. The more ruthless elements of the institution no longer feel the need to keep the peace. They are starting to act, not just leak. The way this Costner comment is being quietly used by palace insiders suggests a shift in tone. Meghan is no longer being tolerated. She's being watched. Catherine's position in all this has never been stronger. While Meghan faces rejection and scandal, Catherine is seen as a monarchy's modern face. And she's playing it perfectly: quiet, loyal, uncontroversial. The contrast couldn't be sharper. Meghan's missteps highlight Catherine's discipline. Meghan's scandals make Catherine look even more regal. It's not that Catherine needs Meghan to fall. But the institution clearly benefits when only one duchess is in the public's good graces. The more chaotic Meghan appears, the more valuable Catherine becomes as a symbol of stability. In that sense, Meghan's Hollywood ambition hasn't just hurt her, it's made her biggest rival look untouchable. Then there's Princess Anne, the royal family's unofficial enforcer, known for her no-nonsense approach and disdain for spectacle, and has reportedly expressed open frustration with Meghan's media games. According to insiders, she considers Meghan's conduct not just embarrassing, but dangerous to the monarchy's survival, and rarely comments publicly, but when she moves behind the scenes, things happen. And now, as Meghan's name is once again associated with scandal and boundary crossing, and influence is being felt, she doesn't play PR, she plays defense. And if it comes down to a vote on stripping titles, and stance is already clear. Queen Camilla, surprisingly, may be one of the few people inside the palace who understands the cost of public redemption. She spent decades battling bad press, being called a villain, and slowly rehabilitating her image. But even Camilla knows there are limits, and Meghan may have passed them. Camilla has kept her distance. Her recent body language at public events speaks volumes. No interaction, no acknowledgement. It's a cold shoulder delivered with royal precision. And whether it's calculated or instinctual, it sends a message. Meghan is on the outside now. Fully. Emily Maitlis, who conducted that infamous Prince Andrew interview, unknowingly helped set the tone for this current moment. Her calm but brutal questioning pulled the thread that unraveled Andrew's public life. And her work reminded the world that even the most protected people can fall. Now, with Meghan's name floating in those same conversations, even indirectly, the comparisons are inescapable. Maitlis brought royal scandal into the era of accountability. And while she's not involved in the Costner story, her influence looms large. That interview changed what's allowed to be said. Costner's refusal? It's part of that shift. The royal family's response so far has been classic. Silence. But it's a loaded silence. Behind palace walls, decisions are being weighed. Public appetite for accountability has never been higher. And Meghan's growing list of awkward associations is becoming harder to defend. Costner may have just delivered the tipping point. His rejection wasn't a tabloid scoop. It wasn't gossip. It was a respected figure setting a boundary, and by doing so, confirming what others had only hinted at. Meghan's influence is no longer just questioned. It's being actively resisted, and the institution she once tried to modernize may now be preparing to erase her. Prince Andrew has become the ghost of royal disgrace, always there, never quite banished. Every time his name is mentioned, it brings with it a storm of scandal and shadows. And yet, Meghan Markle, in the early days of her integration into the royal world, didn't entirely steer clear. There were events, shared appearances, polite exchanges. At the time, it might have seemed diplomatic. Now, it looks reckless. Public opinion doesn't care about courtesy. It cares about judgment. And Meghan's judgment is being called into question again and again. It's not that she's being accused of wrongdoing alongside Andrew, but she didn't seem to draw the hard lines that others in the family were already drawing. That hesitation, in retrospect, is damaging, especially now that someone like Kevin Costner has drawn a line with such clarity. The image Meghan built post-royalty was polished, curated, and strategic. Interviews, documentaries, public appearances, all aimed at reshaping her narrative. But scandals have a way of catching up, and Costner's statement cut through the PR gloss like a blade. Not with scandalous detail, but with finality. He didn't accuse her of a crime. He didn't rant. He simply said no, and let the silence speak louder than anything else. It's that silence that's now echoing through media, institutions, and backroom conversations. If Costner, of all people, felt the need to make it public, then what are others thinking privately? Meghan's brand relied on influence and relatability. But the narrative is shifting fast, from misunderstood outsider to someone whose ambition pushed too far, into too many guarded spaces. The royal family is a centuries-old institution built on protocol, distance, and public control. Meghan challenged all of that. She wanted transparency, modernity, relevance. But what she's facing now is a reminder how tightly guarded that institution is, and how brutally it responds when threatened. Costner's rejection doesn't just affect Meghan's Hollywood prospects. It could catalyze institutional action. Conversations about title revocation are no longer fringe speculation. The monarchy has legal tools it rarely uses, but it can use them. If it determines that Meghan's presence poses a reputational threat, her Duchess title could be on the table. The threshold isn't guilt. It's association, scandal, and sustained controversy. And at this point, Meghan's track record is beginning to look like a risk the royals don't want to keep carrying. Harry's position is more complicated. He left the monarchy to protect his family, to control his narrative, to escape the toxicity he blamed for his mother's fate. But now, the very institution he fled might be turning its attention back toward him because of who he chose to stand beside. Sources say Harry has grown increasingly isolated, even in the States. Former allies are stepping back. Major media partners are reconsidering. And his bond with the royal family, already frayed, is now being tested by his wife's unraveling reputation. He hasn't addressed Costner's remarks. He likely won't. But silence, in this case, isn't neutral. It reads like quiet panic. Meanwhile, William and Catherine have become the default setting of royal reassurance. They are not flashy. They are not dramatic. And right now, that's exactly what the monarchy needs. Every time Meghan is in headlines, Catherine's quiet competence and William's sense of duty stand in contrast. The crown survives by comparison. And the more Meghan falters, the more William and Catherine rise, not by action, but by absence of scandal. This isn't personal, but the effects are personal. As Meghan drifts further from royal favor, the couple that stayed in line is being prepped to take on more responsibility, and they are not likely to fight the shift. The Epstein scandal still lingers in the palace corridors like a stench that won't fade. Prince Andrew's fall from grace was dramatic and public, and the monarchy paid a steep price for its delay in distancing itself. That mistake won't be repeated. If Meghan is seen as connected to any piece of that puzzle, even socially, even historically, the reaction will be faster, sharper, more decisive. There's no appetite for more slow-rolling scandals, not with the public watching every move. And Meghan's name being brought up in the same breath as Andrew's again, that's enough for the palace to start drawing up contingencies. Nobody wants a sequel to the Epstein disaster, especially not one involving a duchess. What started as vague discomfort is now taking the shape of institutional resistance. Meghan's prior overlaps with Andrew may not have raised eyebrows then, but they do now. Costner's remarks added fuel to the fire, but it's a cumulative effect that matters. A royal who can't stop generating headlines is a liability, and one connected, even slightly, to disgraced figures? That's a ticking bomb. For Meghan, this could mean the beginning of the end of her royal identity, not because of a single comment, but because of everything that came before it, now re-examined under a much harsher lens. It's not about one awkward moment with an actor. It's about the growing realization that her version of power doesn't align with the institution's definition of integrity. So here we are, Kevin Costner, royal titles, scandals that won't stay buried, and a duchess who might be running out of high places to fall from. One quiet rejection just peeled back the curtain on years of whispered concerns, and the damage control machine is struggling to keep up. Meghan wanted access. She wanted influence. And now, those very desires might be the reason the doors are closing. For good, if you've been watching the headline shift, or if you had your own suspicions about the Royal Hollywood crossovers, let's talk about it in the comments. Do you think titles should be revoked? Should silence be taken as complicity? Hit the like button if you're still keeping up with this saga, and subscribe if you're bracing for whatever twist comes next. Because let's be honest, there's always another one.